Hello again and welcome to another Morning Glory Warhammer 40k video. In today's episode, I thought we would engage in a fun little brain teaser, a mental exercise to work out what is the largest guard horde that you can field in a matched play game of Warhammer 40k. I'm not talking about the biggest model, I'm talking about the most models that you can cram into a list. How many boots can we get onto the ground? Now, naturally, I'm doing this from the guard perspective, but I would love to know how big you can make some other factions out there. How many Nid bugs can you flood onto the board? How many orcs can you cram into a green tide? But not just horde factions, I'd love to know how many marines, hell even custodies you can get onto the tabletop. So if you are someone who collects one of those factions or you're just interested in working it out, then please let me know what is the biggest horde you can build with another faction and put it down in the comment section. I would love to see what crazy things you guys come up with. But with all of that said, let's not mess around any further. Let's fix bayonets and charge right into today's episode.
Octopus, I want to be an octopus. Whoa.
Now, it might seem kind of obvious, but I think the best way to achieve the highest model count is by looking at the guard infantry. In 10th edition, we can get a lot of infantry on the board, and thanks to the fact that our squads can now be taken in 20-man blobs and that we've got 4 different unique kinds of infantry, we're not just limited to infantry squads and conscripts like we have been in previous editions, we can get a lot of boots on the ground. But which infantry should we go for? Well, the most logical starting point is the cheapest ones, and that is the Catachan Jungle Fighters, coming in at 55 points for 10 or 110 points for 20 of them. We are going to slap 6 of these units into our list straight away. Thanks to them being battle line, they're not as constricted by the rule of 3, and this is why we can get 6 of them in the army.
Attention Guardsmen, the Commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
In terms of loadouts for these guys, well, it's pretty straightforward. Catachans are very limited on the options they can take. So each one of these 20-man squads is going to have 2 sergeants with Laspistols, and then we're going to have 2 Voxcasters, and then we're going to have 4 flamers in each unit. Now, tactically speaking, Catachans are a great unit because they have Scout, which means we will have 120 infantry that will be able to push forward and form a big first wave going into the mid-ground, trying to dominate on those primaries. Hopefully, with that many bodies, we'll be able to clog up the mid-board, take the primary early on, and then our following waves of infantry will be able to move on afterwards. Speaking of follow-up waves, we can't take any more Catachans in our army. So now we need to look at what other kind of cheap infantry we can get here. And we have 2 choices: Cadian shock troops and infantry squads. Both of these units cost 60 points for 10, so that's 5 points more than the Catachans, or it is 120 points for 20 of them. Now, in terms of which of these 2 we should go for, it's kind of dealer's choice, but technically, and technically correct, of course, is the best kind of correct, Cadian shock are the way to go. And this is simply because they don't have heavy weapon teams. Now, sure, a heavy weapon team may look like it is 2 guardsmen on 1 base, but in reality, it is 1 model. That means if we go down the infantry squad route and we want to have a good unit, we could choose not to take our heavy weapons, but then at that point, why wouldn't we just take Cadians and get more special weapons? So we're going to go down the Cadian route because each squad will come with 2 extra models. Now, naturally, we're going to put 6 of these into our army. This will give us an additional 120 infantry, and every single one of these squads is going to have the same loadout. We're going to have a sergeant with a auto gun, we're going to have 2 Voxcasters, 2 Meltaguns, and 2 plasma guns. This will give us some form of punch. Is it good anti-tank? No. Is it some anti-tank? Yes. Right now, we have already got 12 20-man squads in our army, and that's 240 infantry. And it's only cost us 1,380 points. So we've still got 620 points left over. That's a lot more infantry we can get. Our natural inclination at this point is to then move over to the infantry squads. After all, they cost 120 points, and we can get 18 models from each unit. But here's the thing. If we want to go for units that have the best loadout and give us the most models, then technically we want to have some Death Korps of Krieg in there. Sure, they're going to cost us 130 points, but we will get 20 models in those units, not 18, and we'll still be able to have our best loadout. Unlike the infantry squads, where if we want to go for the full 20 in each blob, we're literally just going to leave heavy weapons at home, which is not something we really want to do. We're trying to build the biggest guard army, but it would be a Brucey bonus if we could actually make it somewhat effective as well. To the same, we are going to put 2 units of Death Korps of Krieg in the force. This will give us 40 more infantry. But using the powers of clairvoyance, we can't really fit in many more Death Korps without it actively stopping us from achieving our primary goal, which is as many models as possible. We're just going to have to deal with the 40. Both of these squads are going to have 2 plasma guns, 2 meltaguns, 2 grenade launchers, and the officers, well, the sergeants are going to have a plasma pistol and a power sword each. We're really starting to get towards the end of our budget now, and so the next couple of units we're going to put in here are 2 20-man infantry squads. At this point, it's really unavoidable. We want to have the most models possible. We're going to have to accept a slightly less effective loadout, and so these 20-man infantry units are going to have sergeants with plasma pistol and power sword, and then just 2 special weapons. And in this case, I thought I'd go for double plasma gun in each squad, because then we've got plasma pistols and sergeants, plasma guns. There's just a lot of plasma getting thrown around. So with 120 Catachans, 120 Cadians, and 40 Kriegers, and 40 infantry, we're now on 1,880 points. And don't forget, we do need to have a character in here. So the last 2 units we're going to pop in here is 1 more infantry squad, but it's only going to be a 10-man unit. And then we're going to have 60 points left over, which we will use for a Platoon Command squad. When I actually originally built this army, I was going through this concept, I thought, well, of course, I'm just going to chuck the Commissar in there, because he's 30 points for 1 dude. He's the cheapest possible HQ character that we can have. And we need to have one to have a match play list. But I realized that I got to the end of the list, and I was like, well, I can't fit any more infantry in. And it's 30 points for 1 dude or 60 points for 5 dudes. So the Commissar is a little bit of a trap if you're doing this exercise. It's not necessarily about the cheapest HQ, it's about model per model points efficiency. So adding all of this together, all the Catachans, Cadians, Kriegers, and infantry, and the Platoon Command squad, we end up with 335 models in a totally legal tournament legal army list. Now, technically, if we wanted to go for the best loadout with this configuration of units, we would have to drop 5 models. And that would be taking those infantry squads and giving them some heavy weapon teams, which go from being 2 individual guardsmen to 1 single model on a big base. That would bring us down to 330 if we wanted the most optimal loadout. But as the primary goal was the most models, I thought I would stick to that first and then just get the best weapons that I could along the way. I suppose the big question here is this army any good? I think if you took it to a tournament, you wouldn't lose every game. It does go against a lot of the golden rules of Guard. It has very little in the way of proper anti-tank. There's no indirect fire, and your orders are completely minimal. You've got one decent order in the entire damn army. But, on the other hand, it is an overwhelming amount of bodies. You will be pushing forward onto objectives, and certain factions simply won't be able to fire enough bullets. But there'll be other factions which will have no problem dealing with this. Armies which will just run up to you and shoot you in the face and then carve you up in combat. You would be surprised. As controversial as it might sound, I don't think this is a table-proof army. I think you could easily be tabled with this army against certain factions. World Eaters really jumping to mind. Those armies that can just pour out an insane amount of attacks, and which your Lasguns and other poorly aimed special weapons are not going to have the damage to slow down enough. Also, you've got the real life logistics of actually moving, shooting and fighting with this many models. You only have 3 hours in a round, and the moment that someone sees you with 300 infantry, they're going to pull out a chess clock faster than I pull out of your mum. And so you're only going to have an hour and a half really to operate this list, and that may not be enough time at all. But at the end of the day, this was more of a fun exercise than it was a serious list. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'm also looking forward to seeing all of the crazy concoctions you come up with for your own factions and finding out truly how Horde we can make some armies. If you did enjoy this video, then please smash that like button. It hugely helps with the YouTube algorithm and boosts the video. And if you want to see more content like this, then subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Wolf, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.